Hawk na yung combo.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the League of Legends International Collegiate Championship. And again, we still have more games in store for everyone today. We are your shoutcasters for this point.
Yeah.
My name is Aika, and with me here is
Of
Shindu.
course, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to our game 3.
Yeah.
Game 3. And this time, the second game for our Philippine representative too. So, to the Filipino viewers of our stream, you know what to expect. We need all your support because this time they're gonna face their biggest challenge here in the LICC. A powerhouse team, Hong Kong.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
So again, we mentioned in the previous game that Hong Kong is actually one of the favorite teams to come out of these group stages. So TIP, definitely our team has to put in more and show a stronger performance here at this point, especially facing them, and be very convincing if they hope to be one of those two teams coming out of the group stages.
Yeah, of course the underdog here is very clear. You've seen the match between China and Indonesia. You see how powerful China is. In the story, in the course of LICC, over the course of LICC, Hong Kong beat China.
Yeah.
On a one-sided game, game. So,
yes.
so it's very clear that TIP, our Philippine representative, will enter this game as the underdog against Hong Kong. Hong Kong Campus League, ladies and gentlemen. So, going to the bans, going into the draft, we have our first ban here, Syndra. I would expect, of course, you know, those picks once again from the Worlds, because it's the meta right now. It's very clear. 6.21. We'll have the Jace. We'll have the Olaf. We'll have a Jin ban. We could have I think it's very likely on the first rotation and second rotation it's either a Karma or an Elise. That's the story, ladies and gentlemen. But wow, surprisingly, they want to tunnel vision on the mid lane.
Yeah.
Removing the victor in the hands of Janine. I think they are thinking that you know, TIP is not really much of a strong team, but let's just disable who's the strongest among them. Let's remove the mid lane. Let's fully disable the mid lane. So they're gonna remove this Victor. It's very clear how Janine has been excellent in the Victor back in game 1 against Indonesia. Answer by TIP here from Hong Kong is a Kennen. There's a lot of challenge for the side of our Philippine representative to ban out against Hong Kong, especially considering that Hong Kong has the first pick on the blue side.
And Hong Kong's definitely, as it seems, they are going to prioritize a mid pick, possibly as well a jungle pick. So that's going to be IVE for Hong Kong there versus TIP. And again, they cap off with a ban on Cassiopeia.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, so the priority here from Hong Kong, Olaf getting locked in. Gonna remove the Nidalee. That's the reason why the Nidalee has been removed. Nidalee heavily counters Olaf in the early game, phase, especially if you want to scout the Olaf. You have better mobility compared to the Olaf. But of course, Elise will be available to pair with this early game prowess of an Olaf. So it's very clear that you don't need to really prioritize and pick the jungle because it's very expected to pick up the Olaf. You have to take note though that the Jace is also available. But right now they're gonna go for a Poppy. A safer pick because you know you would want the tackiness in the late game. You also want to have that utility of the -1, removing one player at the very least on a team fight with the Keeper's Verdict. Pair this with a Karma. We're gonna expect a Lucian. I'm expecting an Ashe as an answer here from TIP. Just that it's either a Jean, Lucian.
Well, Jin is banned out.
Yes,
so
or Ashe. So I'm gonna expect an Ashe. Might be an Ezreal.
Could be
Ezreal. But this time, what they'll pick against the Poppy would be an Echo. good pickup actually against the Poppy. That really has that kill potential. You know, if you would want to go for more safety, you would want for the Trundle. Consistency, you would want for the Trundle to stop the top lane because Trundle has like better scaling against Poppy in terms of the battle stance. But I'm seeing this composition here by Hong Kong to be aggressive. They would want to make the teleport play, they would want to make the, visit on the bottom lane because Echo has a lot of utility and gap closers. Should ever they want to dive in to the ADC champion here of TIP, even though the ADC champion has not been yet revealed for the TIP side.
Yeah, but definitely Hong Kong picking up a Lucian for their bot lane means they really want to bully out the opposing bottom lane in TIP. And we did talk about this earlier that TIP actually, their undefeated streak for most, if not all of those, are because their bot lane was doing really well steamrolling against the other team. So it might be that Hong Kong has actually figured that out, especially when TIP played out their first game. Their bottom lane did really bad, so that put them at a point where they couldn't even get back from that disadvantage. So they might be looking to snowball that lane against TIP.
And there you have it. Look at that. There is the Ezreal pink being done here. Of course, with the Echo getting revealed here, it's not wise to pick up the Ashe. So the late game scaling has been removed in just one pick here by the Hong Kong, by the Hong Kong team. Because, you know, Ezreal, at the very least, you still have the early game prowess, you also have the poke, you still have the consistency. So what they'll pick up for the jungle against the Olaf would be this is a very interesting pick. Nunu actually is a good buff. Enter the 6.21 punch. So I'm just not sure how can you. It's more on go for the pressure. My guess is go for the pressure because of the tankiness of the Nunu plus the sustain that it has whenever you are in lane. But still, there's a lot of mobility here in the composition of the Hong Kong team. Their jungle is not even swapping the Ghost for the flash. So this is very interesting. Like, go for a Ghost Echo. Or not Echo. Ghost Olaf, of course. Kind of expected. But look at that. Added to the utility and the gap closers, a lot of damage still has been brought in the table here by the Hong Kong team. You also have the Rise for the mid lane and the Morgana support getting locked in.
Yeah. So a lot of snares going around there.
For the Ezreal.
Yeah, which means if they manage to lock down that Ezreal or the enemy mid laner, that is going to be most definitely a sure kill, especially when you have both Lucian and Echo there to follow up. And they come out with the Azir. Of course, they will need some disengage, given that you indeed have gap closers on the other side.
And you would want additional damage. The big question for me is, as far as I know, Emperor's Divide doesn't still stop Olaf.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Ragnarok. It still doesn't. Emperor's Divide is not a terrain. It's not a terrain. It's not like the Jarvan Cataclysm or even the Anivia Crystallize. So my guess here
is definitely there to keep like the engages of the Rise and the Morgana to be too lethal. It can push away the Echo as well when they get when he manages to get any of vulnerable targets. But you know, it's still not gonna stop an Olaf. So again, an Olaf, his job is going to have to chase down those carries. If not zone them, then definitely take them out.
Zone, or at the very least you would want, because there's the Nunu. Olaf has a better presence in terms of aggression compared to the Nunu. Enter the early game. So this is one chick in the armor of TIP. They have to watch out for the Olaf on the early game. I think what TIP plans here is that we dominate the lane when we group up. Because if you have the Nunu in the front line, also Azir in the back line, you cannot easily dive anyone, especially under turret, especially with the Azir because of the soldiers plus the passive. So that's one insightful thing or intuitive thing that's been going around in the minds of the TIP, of the Philippine team as they go onto this draft. And there you have it, guys. That's the draft getting locked in. What do you think of the compositions? What do you think? Do we have? I'm like very pessimistic as I say this. Do we have a fighting chance against Hong Kong? Do you have any idea how strong Hong Kong is? Of course, for our style, Filipino style, we keep the faith, we keep our support, we make the noise. So for our viewers, Be sure to take a screenshot and share the stream link esports.green.ph/stream. Let's go! Welcome to the Summoners Realm League of Legends International Collegiate Championship 2016. Game 3 of the day for our stream, for our coverage, a match between IVE versus TIP, Hong Kong versus Philippines. Let's go for the champion rundown.
Yes, on the blue side, we have Kin2G on that Echo top lane, Sing 21 on the Olaf jungle, number 4 on the Rise mid lane, Grenade on the Lucian ADC, and Baba on the Morgana support.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and also on the red side for TIP in the top lane, you have Hanzo on the Poppy, in the jungle, Meow, in the Nunu, in the mid lane, Janine for the Azir, and the bottom 2 is going to be Cute on that Ezreal ADC, and Tara on that Karma support. So, looking into the start of our game, you can see how Hong Kong moving as one unit. They trust that there is no early game play or level 1 play coming in from TIP in terms of wards, in terms of vision, in terms of control. So what they did is they group up. Let's go for that standard group as 5, take the first blood kill. If ever someone is out of position, it might be in the top lane, go for the Poppy because, you know, TIP might not expect that. But there's no casualty, nobody gets scouted.
Based on the previous matches that both of these teams have had, Hong Kong has definitely shown to be the much more clean and decisive team of the two. TIP has had their shortcomings. They've had very messy games and made a lot of crucial mistakes, especially here in the bot lane. I am hoping that Tarja is going to step up a little bit more, especially since they do rely a lot on their bot lane being able to snowball well against the enemy bot lane.
Yes, I would like to expand on that. What you mentioned about decisiveness. That's one thing lacking for TIP. At the very least, with the demand of LICC. You need to be decisive. Like earlier on against the match with Indonesia, it was Indonesia that is actually dictating what will happen in the game. And TIP was just playing reactively. So sometimes it's good, but not all the time. You don't do that to a point that you're giving out objectives. And this is one bad habit of TIP, giving out 3 objectives without exchanging it with anything.
Yeah, definitely. They have to stand their ground, especially when it comes to, again, those big objectives. But at the same time, I guess, I'm not sure if it's a question of confidence or they're divided in their shot calling. But definitely, if they do improve these things, they'll be able to make more clear plays, at least be a complete team when they go in for those, much like what NTU did earlier when the junglers there, it seems everyone's in sync, they go in for the fight, they get those kills, then they leave. It's very clean, and
as you mentioned, it's very clear that TIP needs to work on their precision as they go with the team fights. So again, mentioning earlier in the drafts, their presence, their early game presence, also to the hands of the Olaf in this jungle. He has now taken his red buff, making sure that he gets all caps before Nunu is able to touch him in the jungle. You can see how Nunu, no plans of even ganking the top lane, even with an extended Echo or King, Kin2G. I think that's King, on Echo. But rather, Olaf is also not ganking this bottom lane. So both of the junglers aiming for a long game.
Oh no, they're very aggressive flash in the bot lane by Baba, though the Dark Binding does miss his target, and now Tarja and Cute are re-engaging, but keeping them at bay.
If that flash Dark Bind connected, could have been a first blood for TIP, especially that Olaf has been in range. But as you mentioned earlier, the decisiveness of the team Hong Kong. That's actually a really wise play. They know it's a high risk, high reward play. I think in this early game, it's good to be pulled because you know you would want to get that first blood.
Honestly, of all the Dark Bindings I've seen by Baba, every single one has seemed to hit, except for that one where he went in for the flash. But so far, when he's dishing them out to poke, he does manage to land it on either Cute or Tarja. So Cute and Tarja need to be more vigilant in this bot lane. They can't just take unnecessary poking from the enemy team because they're getting pushed into the turret.
And going back into the chat, it was really a nice flash Dark Binding combo because if that connected, that's one way you would pull off against unguarded brush in the mid lane.
Yes, but in the mid lane here, we did have that snare connecting on to Janine. Number 4 there, though, being punished a bit by Meow, being the first so far to gank. Though he is pushing Janine back again. forces the flash out of him to stay alive. But he did expend his ghost.
Yes, Janine also expends his, again, as you mentioned, the flash plus the cleanse.
Yeah.
On that Azir, a lot of summoner spells getting burned here in the mid lane, getting removed. So you could see that even against the Rise, supposedly, I'm not sure, I mean, Azir has a lot of distance actually.
Yeah, with the Rise, you're supposed to really keep that distance at a maximum.
At the very least, not being forced to a point that you need to flash, but
then the thing is, number 4 has also been very aggressive at closing that gap, and he does really try to get up close and personal against Janine. He goes dangerously close to the turret range.
Yes,
actually.
I think Janine also are making the consistent mistakes of being in range of number 4. Again, you are in range of a hold, that's all. Oh my god.
Oh, that's another Dark Binding. Crucial Dark Binding there, missed by Baba.
And nice shift there also by Ezreal. And going back in the mid lane, Janine has always been in range of the Rise. And as we mentioned, Janine has the range, supposedly has the range. So if ever he's in range with the Rise, there's these mistakes of deciding to trade with the Rise. You're gonna lose the trade definitely with Rise, especially when he puts his combo in you. So just capitalize on the range. Please, Janine, just capitalize on the range.
Yeah, again, definitely in terms of early aggression, it's going to be IVE that wants to capitalize on that just based on their picks. They really want to pressure TIP early on, but TIP so far, given what they've chosen in response, they need to take it slow just a little bit, not give in to the pace that IVE is imposing onto them.
Yes, I think this is nice now for the itemization of Janine. Negatron Cloak definitely mitigate a big chunk of burst the damage from the Rise.
Yeah.
So, plus, you know, building up Magic Resist is definitely a good pickup on a composition with the AV champions. So, yes, I think at the very least there's more survivability now for this Azir in the mid lane. Whereas for itemizations, you can see that in the top lane, or rather, for the itemizations back, there's the Catalyst of Aegis on top of the Tear of the Goddess for number 4. So, pretty much better work on the scaling when it comes to the mid lane core items for the Rise.
Trouble
but you can see,
trouble is brewing in the top lane here. We have Sing 21 in there for a gank. A flash has been expended by Hanzo to stay alive. Now we have Yao here backing his top laner up. They do successfully send them away.
Yep. Of course, even the counter engage, counter gank of Loon is lackluster actually. You really want to go for the objectives, the counter jungle, and you know, late game tactics. But it would be nice. Actually, I think the Nunu has been picked up second pick before the Ezreal. It's just that the problem is that the pickup, as I mentioned, is an Ezreal ADC, and Nunu's Blood Boil works better with an Ashe actually for the attack speed. But of course, it still works. I mean, added attack speed boost works really nice with the Ezreal plus the Azir. So
yeah, definitely for the Azir.
I think that's how this draft is explained. That's how this draft is explained for the side of TIP. Looking into the Drake that's available, it's an Ocean Drake, and right now, 9 minutes into the game, I was expecting that, you know, TIP will come into this game as you mentioned as an underdog. I was expecting more from Hong Kong, but with this kind of composition, it seems that even with the aggressors coming in the side of Hong Kong, on the blue side, no first blood yet. 9 minutes.
Yeah, well, again, given that this is a team that has performed very decisively and cleanly against strong teams like China, I'm guessing that comes from their discipline as well, not to try and go for more when they can. Like, alright, in the mid lane we have their, no, number 4 actually got pushed back into the arms of the turret, not a first blood there. And you can see there's the discipline right there, but in the bot lane, that might be a kill. Almost onto Tarja. And can they get more? No, they do not. Still 0-0 on the scoreboard.
Oh my god.
And that's exactly it. I mean, number 4 does know that he was at the losing side of that skirmish in the mid lane.
They know Olaf has his Ragnarok up. This bottom duo lacks mana. This is very dangerous for the bottom duo of TIP.
Yep. And they definitely are in a precarious position. They don't know how far back Sing 21 is because they do not have any wards there, and he's just going right under that turret. He's hammering them down there, just whacking and hacking with his axe, and he manages to take out Taria while Cute goes and falls in the hands of Grenade. That's instantly 2 kills on the scoreboard for IVE.
You have to take note of the weakness of your champion. You have to take note how low your life and your mana is. You have to take note of your summoner spells. Actually, the summoner spells has been wasted there from Cute side, thinking that he can still escape a 4-man dive. The aggressiveness that Hong Kong's team is been playing manifests itself in the bottom lane, bags in 2 kills.
Yep.
Along with the first blood.
Yeah, and definitely oversight there from TIP. They did not have any defensive vision at all. Of course, when you know you're up against an Olaf, you need to have that there because that's exactly his job. He needs to get to the back line. And he did exactly just that. So, mad props to IVE so far. They take what they can get and they don't try to force any uneven trades that will end badly for them.
Yes, I think the big mistake there was of TIP overstaying in the bottom lane. Seriously. Going for that dive. I mean...
Yeah, they thought they could tower hug.
They could tower hug. My guess is they can, especially with the mobility that Illusion has, plus the tankiness of an Olaf, and you have to take note of the teleport station. But if this is the top lane, wow, King is losing the trade, actually with Poppy.
And IVE has properly set up actually for this dragon. It is going to be an Ocean Drake. As the first dragon for this game, they have set up quite a decent amount of vision around this objective. Of course, TIP still has a few wards there, few and far between though, so they might need to either deny that vision or just take advantage of the deficit that TIP has and force this, and they might be going for this.
Yes, even under the ward, Hong Kong, they know they have the need. They know that they can have the initiative to take this Ocean Drake. Just like that, on top of 2 wards, they took the first Drake of the game. Ocean Drake.
Yes, there, a decisive objective. And meanwhile, in the top lane, we have here another fist fight breaking out between the top laners. As for will this be a full-out battle, it's looking to not be. And so far, it's still 2-0.
2-0
yeah, apart from that turret dive earlier, not a lot of things happening.
1k gold lead, Campbell's Hammer on the Lucian. Actually, I think after a few wave, I think he has enough money now to buy his Universal Ghost Blade. Plus, interestingly, what Lucian built was the Berserker Streams on top of the Boots of the CGT. But for this game, as number 4 has recalled, his Rod of Ages has been completed. So that's definitely the scaling of lies secured now in this game, despite whatever team fights may go south on them. And what I want to know is about these 2 top lanes though.
Yeah, in the top lane, Hanzo is in trouble. We have here Sing 21 for the follow-up and flash over the wall to be followed by Hin2G, and he manages to secure that kill. Meanwhile, here we have as well running around the jungle. Number 4 is chasing after Meow in his own jungle. He's getting pushed out there. And are they going to stand their ground? Janine is now here to back him up. He is going to drop his ultimate, and Janine there with more and more pokes. And they do manage to push number 4 away. Although it doesn't seem like IVE is worried or threatened at all by their enemy.
Yeah, nice pick against the Nunu. Now I realize how Rise can counter Nunu.
Yeah.
So whenever Nunu aims to target or ultimate, use ultimate on multiple targets, you just use your ultimate as well and realm up away along with your teammates.
Yep.
So that's a lot of damage getting mitigated, especially with the channel time of Absolute Zero.
Yeah.
It is longer compared to the channel time or rather activation of realm up.
Now it looks like in the bot lane, this duo is not going to give up so easily. They've managed to chunk them down to really low. Grenade does manage to evade the ultimate of Cute, and now they're re-engaging. They have teleports here coming in from both top laners, but both of them will cancel. and leave these pairs defend for themselves.
Intense!
But Meow is now circling around. He might actually join and push for this fight.
I wonder how does Anun
Or not. He is actually recalling.
in the front line.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely, he has to wait for those, the point in the game when the laning phase
well,
has essentially ended.
yeah. Like, how do you gap? You could actually just visit the Olaf and disable him or disrupt him in the jungle. But you can see how Sing21 is doing his work. He's not really power farming. He's more like influencing bottom lane, the top lane, sometimes the mid lane also as well. Good thing there's no cash roam in the mid lane, so it's only this bottom lane that went south after that dive. Plus 1 kill in the top lane, but they really have to watch out for that Olaf gap. The early game presence of the Olaf, as we mentioned in the draft, is, you know, presenting itself really well in the early games of the game.
Oh, and no cute there. Caught in the wrong place. He did not expect that Dark Binding over the wall, and that's actually what you have to look for when you're playing against those Morganas.
Binding over the wall, really nice. Like, you cannot see the flight animation of the Dark Binding, so that's actually that technique is, I'm not sure if it's popular.
Yeah, it's actually when you play with a Morgana, you really have to take advantage of the Fog of War.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to predict where they're gonna go, especially when your enemy doesn't have vision of you.
Yes.
And
I cannot imagine any projectile that is as slow as the Morgana Dark Binding. So I really want to hide that one.
Okay, we have a fight erupting here in the blue side jungle of TIP, and they are going down. Tarja is the first lethality here, and they're just gonna walk away from that, and they're satisfied with that 1 kill. But now they are at a 5k gold lead over TIP 17 minutes into this game. 5-0 on the scoreboard. This is looking to be quite a clean game from the Hong Kong team.
Yes. A little bit of a, as we know how Hong Kong will play this out. It's very like they're gonna recall take one of the infernal take. A little bit of a public service information about the lethality. So a lot of players are getting confused. What the hell is this lethality? I mean, what does it do? What does it do? Is it another name for armor penetration? Actually, yes, it is by 40%. But I don't want to make it sound technical. Bottom line, lethality is partial armor penetration. It is in general armor penetration, but 60% or almost half of it is a scaling armor penetration. So it is designed in such a way that when assassins went behind, they still deal damage as assassins. And it is designed in such a way that when you build armor against when assassins are ahead, they are not like crazy ahead, like very like you cannot do anything with your innate stats. So this works well with, for example, if you're using a mage champion and you're playing against an assassin, you don't usually build defensive items against assassins, because you really want to just deal damage as well with the assassins. But sometimes assassins go to a point where they just have so much damage because of the flat armor penetration. So what Riot did was, what they did with the lethality was, or rather with armor penetration, they divided it. 40% flat armor penetration for the old times, and 60% scaling armor penetration. That depends on the target's level. So if your target is of higher level, doesn't matter if you have armor or not, doesn't matter if he has armor or not, doesn't matter if you have damage or not, doesn't matter if you have if she has armor or not, as long as she has a high level, you're gonna deal more damage. So that's how lethality is done. So it's actually about, you know, balancing the assassins in such a way that they are playable and they don't get overpowered because of the
because, well, currently before that, assassins are very lethal and very difficult to deal with when you're behind, they really just farm
they just
low level.
They just farm the level 5 Nami, something like that.
Yeah, so I guess it would make more sense to reward assassins for taking out high value targets, because if you think about it, essentially that is what assassins do. And so a little bit of lore and
updates for the
gameplay discussion there, although it's still not live for this game.
Yes, you could see in our overlay on the lower left side that we are playing patch 0.21 in this tournament round for the LICC.
But anyway, in case you've missed anything, guys, in this game so far, far, it's IVE just methodically choking out TIP as well. It seems to be the trend for most games here at the LICC, especially when you have a clear top dog or favorite team. They're very clean in their execution.
I would want to commend TIP as well. It's not because they've been doing mistakes that IVE has been capitalizing on. It's just because IVE is just proactive.
Yeah,
more proactive compared to them.
Yeah, they're getting out-rotated, and at the same time, they're losing a lot in terms of map control, objective control, and when a fight does erupt, IVE does manage to be more mechanically attuned compared to them as a team.
At least the petty mistakes are done. It's just they're still getting outclassed.
Yeah, we don't have Tarja forcing fights that they can't win in bot lane anymore. And I think that's a marked improvement compared to yesterday for TIP, but they still have to step up.
Yeah, they really need to step up, especially if your enemy is ahead by a 7k gold lead.
Yeah.
Plus,
but then again, that's also due to mostly the turrets that they've been able to take out. They have 4 turrets already, while TIP does not. So actually, if they do manage to push these lanes and get some turrets, they will be able to shore up the deficit.
At the very least, the outer turrets.
Yeah, definitely.
Because outer turrets are relatively easy to take, especially if you know how to rotate with the map. If you know also how to out-rotate your enemy. It's easier to out-rotate with the term out-rotate if the map is, in a sense, bigger for you. Because as the game progresses, objectives are getting closer and closer to the Nexus, hence the map is getting smaller for the opposing players.
Exactly, and it looks really, really small right now. As you can see, TIP is very reluctant to go over to the enemy side of the map. Even on their own jungles, they're really struggling to get down all of those defensive wards. And here in the top lane, that's a slow and a very a struggle fight there between the top laners. But again, it seems that IVE is just free to do whatever they want on this map. They're pushing out TIP with relatively little to no difficulty, and just going for what could be a very easy Baron for them.
Yes, man, especially with the Poppy going low. Good thing that he managed to recall. And I think she has her teleport up, so we'll go for the push here in the bottom lane. Do take note that these 5 members with a high damage output relatively for this timer to taking on this Baron. Again, as we mentioned, the aggressor, Hong Kong. This is a force. This is a force team fight that could be done here.
We have there the Realm Orb coming in from number 4, right smack in the middle of that group from TIP that was trying to shore up 4A defense, and now Hanzo is standing back there. We have the Emperor's Divide coming out from Janine to push them away, although when they're that low, you might want to re-engage there, but it seems that Grenade is putting in some pokes from the side, and TIP does not want to push this further.
And even with higher health, they've been using their skills to peel off members of Hong Kong, of IVE. So, what does it say? What does it say? I mean, at the very least, they could even might be able to pick up someone. I think they lack hard CC.
No, actually, that was interesting what they did, because it was TIP not being sure whether they were gonna scout out that Baron or whether they were gonna contest. They were starting to make their way, and then IVE was just, you know what, let's just stop this Baron and go for a team fight. Let's go in there, and voila, they brought the fight to TIP. And TIP was actually not, it wasn't a clear disadvantage for them. They were actually doing quite well in that fight. It's just they did not decide to follow up after that Emperor's Divide, and just managed to be relieved that the Baron was not taken. They can still farm up some more in this window of time, and I think they're just going to slow down this game as much as possible.
Because of the third lead, there's just, very feasible item lead as well. In the hands of the side are the champions of IVE. And looking into the mid lane, you could see the lead that despite having the lesser CS, Ryze more items compared to Janine. Janine doesn't even have his boots upgraded. So, and Ryze, number 4 is already working on his 3rd core item with boots upgraded. Plus, they've taken a position actually to take this Infernal Drake. This is very dangerous. They already have 1 Infernal Drake on top of the Lucian Drake.
Definitely.
For this game. So...
And I don't think TIP has any idea that they're doing that because they do not have... Yeah, they haven't had any advanced vision for quite some time now into the enemy jungle. And even defensively, they are struggling with that.
TIP is aiming for the long game as well.
Yeah, definitely. They want to draw this out as much as possible. Find some windows where IVE makes mistakes that they can capitalize on.
Looking into the long game, the one who can deal damage, the long game, in the late game, is Janine and Desreal. And Janine, as I mentioned earlier, is behind. Behind gold, behind item against the Rise. So let's see though. There's a dive collapse here in the top lane. Good ultimate from Hanzo.
Hanzo is there though. Even without the ultimate, it's quite tanky. So I'm not sure if that would have necessitated that ultimate just yet. And they do have both teams coming in for a big team fight here in the top lane. This turret is going to go down. We have Meow here taking the brunt of the damage. Is he going to pop his ultimate? He is. And we have the team there just going ham, and Grenade is getting in some free hits. A lot of them actually, that Emperor's Divide did not manage to hit anyone, and instead they go away. They leave with the heads of both Hanzo and Meow.
God, 7-0, ladies and gentlemen. That is a 9. That is a 9k gold lead. Advantage by IVE now aiming to take their first battle.
And that was actually the sad part because again Hanzo expended his ultimate before the fight even began. That could have actually worked in their favor given how low the enemy carries got. If they were able to eliminate one of the tanks or maybe one of the carries, that fight could have been turned in their favor, but instead they lacked a lot of necessary tools, and at the same time they made mistakes in those fights as well. So unfortunate fight there for TIP.
I love the way how the guys from our production team is cheering. They can still do it.
Well, again, guys. With this 10k gold lead at 27 minutes in, it's a lot like the previous game. There is some hope if they look to take down some turrets.
Or if they force. If they force anything, if somebody of them got caught off. But you know, this is the competitive scene. Far from solo queue, where Riot has mentioned everyone does mistakes in solo queue. In the competitive scene, you don't expect that. You don't really expect for that. So that's why mistakes are very punchy.
But then again, if they do manage to drag this game out as much as possible, and with the ultimate from Hanzo there, they could be in, they can still use the numbers advantage. They could even get a near ace that could work in their favor. And when it reaches the late game, you have enough time to take as many turrets, 2 or 3 even. Actually, if you do a 1-2-2 setup, you could take even 5 or 6 of those turrets.
This is a phase of the game. We are nearing the phase of the game where champions are more valuable compared to the turrets because of the pushing power that every composition has.
Every death is going to be an opportunity at this point for the enemy team because of the death timers. So while you are dragging it out, you want to be more wise as well about the fights you're going to take. And here it looks like they're going to go for 4 people here in the bot lane. They're just going to push for that. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we have there Kintuki and Hanzo as well forcing, trying to keep the defense there. But there you go. You have the inhibitor down as well. And I'm not sure how TIP is going to plan to stave IVE off here. IVE not phased at all by any of the aggression of TIP.
Preventive realm warp.
Yeah.
I mean, a realm warp just this to scare away.
Yeah, to keep them away.
Players of TIP. You can see how TIP members prevented getting the distance of the realm warp. One of the hardest skill names to mention in League of Legends.
Oh no, we have Cute here. He's in trouble. He's getting bullied away from this defense that TIP is mounting. And we have here Hanzo really struggling to keep Kintuki off of that inhibitor. He fails. And even the mid inhibitor is going down. We might see the end of the game really soon. And this is bad, but we have the Emperor Divide there, forcing 3 people into the middle of that turret. And IVE is getting pretty low. They might want to back away from this, but they do have the Baron buff, so they can keep up this fight as well as that Ocean Drake. And they can take their time. We have the flash out there just to stay alive, but Cute is in trouble. He misses his ultimate there, doesn't manage to secure a kill just yet from the enemy team. So IVE is just going to keep forcing their hand here, And Janine does manage to get a kill off of Baba, but with a kill on the support and a kill onto the ADC, this might be their opening to try and stay in this game, but with 2 of their Nexus turrets down, things are looking very, very bad for TIP.
Realm Warp, I mean, I find the Realm Warp cooldowns relatively low.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even use that. Because there's just a Realm Warp that got casted in the bottom lane. And now there's another Realm Warp in the top lane after the series of push in the Nexus turret. But look at that, only the Nexus is standing.
I know.
In the side of TIP. Actually, if IVE, after taking those inhibitors, just recalled and go for another push, could have been the game, but they decided on forcing the Nexus and forcing the Nexus turrets, despite the relatively short death timers.
Yeah.
But this is a game for the taking of the Hong Kong team.
Definitely. It's still not at that point where the death timers are extremely punishing. So I think that was a smart play by IVE, really just forcing those turrets down. They still had Baron buff, they had to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And they knew that TIP keeping them busy with all of these super minions is going to work in their favor. They can get the Elder Drake, I mean the Cloud Drake still, and march in for more. Basically, TIP just has to wait for them.
They actually took all of the Drakes in this game.
Yeah.
4 Drakes in the pocket. I'm not sure. I think there's the next Drake would be the Mountain Drake, but that doesn't matter anymore. Right now it's a matter of, you know, they cannot even take a team fight near the Nexus. They could just walk in the Nexus and just go ham.
Yeah, they can just pull them away from the Nexus or scare them away and then go for that. We do have a turret coming up there from Janine, although Hanzo is going to be trapped there. He does manage to stay back, and we have Meow here with his ultimate. Hintu G has been brought really low there, but he's just diving right in. He has his ultimate and he has popped it, and we still have the turret there putting in the damage, though it does go down, and Hintu G manages to keep get a kill onto Janine there, and people are just going down on the side of TIP. IVE just being very decisive here, and again they do secure that win, so congratulations. That victory just goes to IVE from Hong Kong.
I mean, that's a game for the taking of IVE's Hong Kong, especially with Grenade on that last team fight. He's just weaving through. He's just weaving through spells after spells, normally after normal hit on that Lucian in the end game.
Yeah.
No Nexus turret. I'd say that is actually a clean game. Again, as I've said, the petty mistakes are gone from TIP. But I'd say they could have opted for a better jungler.
Yeah, better composition
overall because they lack CC. I was thinking they're aiming for the lane dominance, but it ended up aiming for the late game scaling, and they did not get the scaling that they want because they lost. They lost the early game so bad. It went 7-0, I think, in the early game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you do mention that indeed they did not give up a lot of kills to the side of IVE, but at the same time they also didn't have enough tools to maintain control over objectives, over team fights, and at the same time they still do make mistakes, especially with the Emperor's Divide. It's not a lot of tide turning ultimates coming in from their carries, and they do also manage to evade most, if not all, of Cute's ultimates as well. So
so you can see, like, maybe that's the difference in the level of play between these two teams. Hong Kong is considered as one of the heavy favorites entering this LICC. But there you have it, guys. Game 3 for day 2 of our LICC. We still have a lot of games to show for this broadcast brought to you by Garena Esports Philippines. And we're going to close this game as we proceed to game 4. We have been your shoutcasters for this game. I am Shinbu with the 149. And of course, with me is the lovely Aika, ladies and gentlemen. LOL International Collegiate Championships 2016. Guys, we'll see you on game 4.
See you.
Hold it right there.